Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, it's that time of the weekend. It's Premier League predictions time with another Premier League predictions video. A video, of course, where I go through and I talk about and I analyse each and every single game that's coming up this weekend. Another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures. And, of course, give my overall predictions on how I think each and every game will finish come the final whistle this weekend. Lot to talk about, lot to digest. Of course, this is a very unique round of fixtures because half the teams played last week and half the teams are playing this weekend as the winter breaks kind of do the little alternate sort of break. So the teams that obviously played last weekend will obviously be taking their winter break this weekend, and the ones that took their winter break last weekend will be playing this weekend. Very unique, very different, and very intriguing the way that the Premier League do it, but it is still got a lot of football for us to sink our teeth into and to feast our eyes upon, which is going to make for interesting and exciting viewing ahead, I'm sure. Before we get into all the predictions, though, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and forever greatly appreciated. And, of course, I encourage you lot to get involved in the comment section as well. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions. Most of all, of course, predictions, because this is a Premier League predictions video as well, of course. That will make for great and interesting reading down below. So do get involved in there with your predictions. Would love to hear from you all on the games that are coming up this weekend. But without further ado, let's get on with the predictions. And we're starting off with Arsenal versus Crystal Palace at the Emirates Stadium. A massive game in prospect for both of these sides. More so for Arsenal, of course, given the fact that they haven't won in their last 4 games in all competitions. That includes 3 in the Premier League. They lost a lot of ground since being top on Christmas Day. And I'm going to go for a win for Arsenal. This is a must-win game for Arsenal. They need to have a bit of respite. They need to put some of their fans at ease a little bit. And they need to do it in this game with a very good performance. But most of all, of course, a good result. And I think that will come in the form of beating Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. Last time we saw them in Premier League action, they beat Brentford. It's been a bit of an inconsistent, weird sort of middle of the road, under the radar-y sort of season for Crystal Palace, as you would tend to expect from a player like a club like that. Sorry, but I just think that Arsenal need to win this game. Of course, they need to make up some ground on the likes of Manchester United, Manchester City, and Liverpool, and even Aston Villa to an extent. Of course, so it's a must-win game for Arsenal. They need to apply some pressure on Liverpool before they play their game on Sunday. They obviously need to bounce back from defeats and draws in the previous number of weeks, including, of course, the FA Cup loss to Liverpool last time we saw Arsenal in any kind of action at all. So it's a massive, massive game for the Gunners here. One that they need to win. One that I think they will win. But it's going to be telling whether or not the pressure does tell on these Arsenal players. So I'm going 2-1 to the Gunners. Not going to be... it needs... In my opinion, this game needs to be a convincing performance by the Gunners, but I don't necessarily think it will be, but I do see them getting the result that they need. I think the nerves will kick in a little bit for the Gunners as we go into that game. Next up, we have got Brentford taking on Nottingham Forest, and this game is huge significance because of one key factor, the return of Toney. And boy, do they need him. Brentford are on a poor run in which I don't think they've actually won a game in all competitions since the beginning of December. They are on such a poor run right now that they need something. They need a bit of a spark, a bit of hope, a glimmer of hope to obviously get them through this very tough period of the season, and that may come in the form of Toney. I believe it's written in the stars that Toney becomes the match winner here. I think it's written in the stars that Toney marks his comeback, marks his return to Brentford, to Premier League action by scoring at least the winning goal in this game. And that's why I've gone with a 2-1 victory in favour of Brentford. I just see it being written in the stars. Sometimes you can look at stats to say games. Sometimes you can look at form. I personally think that this game is based on who on star quality, and I think Toney certainly has that, and it's going to be very interesting to see whether he starts, if he plays the entirety of the game, or whether he's going to come on as a substitute later on to see what kind of reaction and things he's going to get. He's already said that he wants to repay the Bournemouth fans and the club itself for obviously their continued support throughout his ban. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I honestly do believe that this game is written in the stars for Toney to come back and to mark his return with the winning goal in this game. That's not to say this isn't a foregone conclusion. That isn't to say that maybe he could save a point for Brentford or anything. Forest and the Nuno Espirito Santo are still finding their feet under their new manager. Done pretty well in the past few weeks. Of course, they kind of slipped up a little bit in the FA Cup, but managed to obviously claw it back to take it to a replay. Forest will be dangerous. This could be a very unique and interesting game of two very counter-attacking sides. So expect maybe both sides to score and maybe for it to be played at a bit of a frantic pace in terms of transitioning from defence to attack. Very intrigued to see how this game goes, but I'm still backing my prediction of Ivan Toney to be on the score sheet here and for Brentford to mark his return with a 2-1 victory in favour of the Bees. Next up, we've got Sheffield United taking on West Ham. Sheffield United is a must-win game for them, of course, near the bottom of the table. They need to get more points on the board, but they come up against the West Ham side who are going to be in some good form. In the Premier League, they're on like a 4-game unbeaten streak, I believe, are West Ham. And David Moyes, it may not be the prettiest football to watch, it may not be the most easy on the eye football to watch, but it is obviously effective, and they are very clinical in front of goal when it matters most, which is why I genuinely believe West Ham will go on to win this game. I think they'll put Chris Wilder's side to bed pretty comfortably in certain aspects. I don't think it will be completely easy for West Ham in saying that, but I think when it comes to obviously taking their chances, having the firepower in front of goal to put the game to bed later on, I think that will be the crucial, decisive points to make in the game, and that's why I believe West Ham will go on and win this game by 3-1. Big 3 points that will be for West Ham. They continue their push up the table, and from there, who knows where West Ham could go. But I see it being another defeat for Sheffield United. Unless they can get their home form going strong, maybe they'll have a chance. But I just think West Ham will be too clinical for them to handle. Next up, Brighton taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Amex Stadium. I've gone with a 1-1 draw for this one. I cannot really divide the two teams, especially because of how awkward Wolves can be. Wolves can be very strong on their day. They can be very awkward for most of the sides in the division. But sometimes they do have this tendency where they're very easy to play through and they're not as clinical in front of goal and they leak easy and stupid chances. And that could be really helpful for Brighton, of course, who can be dangerous. They're very good on the ball. They're solid. They can be quite clinical in front of goal when they want to be. But again, Brighton themselves have a tendency to leak stupid chances and to leak goals. So it could be much more. It could be a bigger scoreline than 1-1. But I am going to go with a draw and say that this game will finish with a goal apiece for both sides and the points obviously shared. But this one could be a very unique and interesting game of football. You would expect Brighton to maybe hold most of the possession and to obviously continue to probe and provoke Wolves going forward, be on the front foot. And then it's all about whether or not Wolves can be clinical enough on the counter-attack. Can they make the right decisions on the counter-attack? And can they obviously be clinical enough in front of goal to take the opportunities when they are presented to them? Because you could argue both sides this season have been guilty of missing some real gilt-edge opportunities in certain games and at certain times. And I just genuinely do feel like this game could go out any which way, but without knowing which side is going to turn up for either of these two sides in terms of whether or not they're going to be on it from the start or whether they're going to be a bit hit and miss or whether they're going to be completely off the boil. I'm going to have to call it down the middle and go for a draw. It's not the most exciting result, I can guarantee, but it might be a very intriguing and very underrated game to take place this weekend, which actually does take place on the Monday night. So this one could be very interesting for your Monday night viewing. And finally, in what I believe to be the game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this weekend's round of Premier League action, we're at the Vitality Stadium for Bournemouth against Liverpool. Massive game in prospect here. Big game for both of these sides. And one that obviously Liverpool will very much need to win if they are to obviously maintain their strong position at the top of the table. Obviously, I would say scare off the pressure that obviously Man City put on them last week with their victory against Newcastle, and obviously with maybe what Arsenal are going to do, and with obviously Aston Villa still in and around the mix, may not necessarily be completely there, but at the same time still there enough to be at least considered. Liverpool need to win this game, but could a former Red return to haunt Jurgen Klopp's side in the form of Dominic Solanke? Solanke, of course, in very good form in the Premier League, having his best season in the top flight division. Could he have something to say about it? We know, obviously, that Bournemouth provided a shock last season against the Reds. We know that, obviously, Bournemouth have been playing some very good football this season. Could they provide a shock? It isn't out of the realms of possibility. It isn't completely out of the question. But it is going to be about whether or not Bournemouth can take their chances when they get them. We saw against Tottenham in the last game that Bournemouth played in the Premier League. Bournemouth had so many opportunities, but they just couldn't take them when it mattered most. Is that going to be another case here, or are they going to find their shooting boots to be clinical enough in front of goal and maybe cause Liverpool much more food for thought? This isn't going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm never normally comfortable or confident in Liverpool when they had a bit of a break. They sometimes come back a little bit rusty and a little bit sluggish at times. But I still think Liverpool will, by hook or by crook, get the job done. I still think their defence is strong enough to maybe neutralise some of Bournemouth's main threats, and I still think that maybe they have enough about them to go about their business and get the job done. Like I said, by any means necessary. I'm not necessarily looking for the most perfect performance here, but I am expecting the perfect result at 3 points from my side, which is why I am going to back my side to win. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Liverpool win, but I'm going to say this. It isn't going to be comfortable. It isn't going to be easy. And with the way that Bournemouth play football, they can be slick at times. They can be very quick, very fast on the counter-attacking tempo side of things. It's all about whether or not they take their chances, whether or not they take their opportunities. And with that backline of Liverpool's not exactly being at full capacity, still obviously with a few big absentees, the likes of Trent, the likes of Robertson, the likes of Tsimikas, the likes of Matip, they've still got obviously some good players in there. Obviously Virgil van Dijk's been back to his best this season. Gomez has been absolutely solid throughout the campaign. Konate has really come into his own these past few games. It's going to be very interesting to see how Liverpool handle Bournemouth's attacking threat with that kind of defensive structure. There's obviously no Mohamed Salah. There's no Endo. It very well could be a very intriguing game to watch, but one that I'm praying that Liverpool come out on top with and get the 3 points by any stretch of the imagination, or by hook or by crook, by any way that they can. Fingers crossed for a Liverpool win in that one. But it is going to be a very difficult game, and it is going to be a hard grind to obviously get that job done. But as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all of the games that come up this weekend in another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures? I'd love to know what you guys think and feel in the comment section. Give me your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on how you think each and every single game will have its outcome play out this weekend. Down below in the comment section, would love to hear from you all, and sure it'll make great and interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up, enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Premier League predictions video, and I'll see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers guys, thanks everyone for watching, take care, have a good rest of your day, enjoy the football, and I'll see you again very soon.